The Eagles are back from their bye week, and the expected reinforcements are finally here to help. But are we forgetting these two forgotten pieces who are finally ready to practice for the first time this season? Plus, a couple of rookies are about to see a major snap count rise, and why the Birds should beg to see Deshaun Watson on Sunday afternoon. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Most early bye weeks are considered really bad for NFL teams just due to the long nature of really an NFL season, but with the 2-2 Birds reeling following some really bad losses to NFC South opponents and also some major injuries, not playing a game yesterday might have been the best thing to happen to Philadelphia since Nick Castellanos.
Swung on, line down the left field line, and that's going to win it. Castellanos has done it. Turner is scoring, and the Phillies walk it off.
Oh, and is there a better team to face coming off a bye week than the Cleveland Browns right now, who not only got killed 34-13, the Commanders yesterday, but now have lost 3 straight games with an offense not scoring more than 18 points all season. Throw in some head coach and quarterback dysfunction, and obviously Deshaun Watson being an absolute contract and really playing nightmare, there's now talk Jameis Winston could be giving the starting spot on Sunday versus Philadelphia in order to maybe kickstart what has been, again, an anemic Browns offense. And honestly, Eagle fans should beg to play against Deshaun Watson, who has one of the worst completion percentages and yards per attempt, worse than Bryce Young so far this season, and seemingly seems checked out, totally washed, and again, an absolute nightmare. And while sure, the Browns might get back their own injured player in Nick Chubb, who's likely to be cleared after practicing later last week, he's going to have a very limited role, only a couple of snaps here and there, giving the Eagles defense a perfect opponent to get right with and maybe point this team heading back in the right direction. Now, last week I was giving away this Hurts Barkley t-shirt to one of my subscribers, and the winner never hit me back. So let's try this again. Go down below, comment Saquon Barkley, be a subscriber as well, drop a like, and I'll randomly select one of you guys to win this on a show later on this week. Now, speaking of this Birds defense, Anthony DeVonta made a solid point the other day, saying, quote, through the first 4 games with Vic Fangio as DC in 2023, the Dolphins allowed 29.7 points per game and 382 total yards. In Miami's remaining 13 regular season games, the Dolphins allowed just 20 points per game and 301 yards. This is hopefully encouraging as Philadelphia's had a slow start with Vic Fangio this year. In the first 4 games of the regular season, the Birds have allowed 24 total points and 365 yards per game. Considering the team's relatively weak remaining schedule, Fangio's defense could bounce back coming off the bye. And it is worth noting, outside of their NFC East opponents, the Eagles' current remaining schedule has just 2 teams with a winning record literally the rest of the year. Just trying to be positive here on a Monday, we do get to face the Jacksonville Jaguars, and also how about the Carolina Panthers eventually this season. Now, when it comes to my health, I'm all about transparency, which is why I partnered with the sponsor for today's video, Ritual. Ritual has a ton of different vitamins and supplements all throughout their website, which are all made traceable, basically meaning they tell you exactly where all of their labeled ingredients come from, why they are there, and how they are validated. And I've been using Ritual's men's multivitamin for a little over a month now because it's a clinically backed, high-quality men's multivitamin for men between the ages of 18 and 49 to help you fill the gaps that are missed in terms of nutrients in your diet. And the ingredients in these are awesome, like omega-3s, vitamin D, magnesium, all of which are USP verified, which is a third-party quality verification that only less than 1% of multivitamins anywhere are able to earn. And their patented capsule technology combines oily and dry ingredients into one capsule that delays the release so it's much easier on your stomach. And viewers of my show can get 25% off your first order at Ritual. Just scan the QR code you see on your screen right now, or if you're on your phone, very simple, go down below, the link in my description box works as well. And while yes, the defense definitely has its flaws, hopefully this extra week has given Fangio some time to look in the mirror and figure out what's going wrong. There also should be getting some reinforcements with both Sydney Brown and James Bradberry expected to be activated from the PUP list coming this week. Brown, for instance, should be activated any day now after ramping up his recovery the past few months, and while no, he's not going to instantly steal back a starting spot, but being a fast, physical safety on a defense that's not really been that fast or physical could at least add some extra firepower in a weak run box or help out in coverage where needed. And Fangio said it best last week. Yes, you're going to have to go slow with Brown because he's not really practiced at all during training camp. He hasn't been mixing in terms of actual live game reps. But what he saw in film from the 2023 version of Sydney Brown is very impressive, and the DC is excited to get him back.
We'll see. We're excited to get him coming back. We all have to have some patience, which I know isn't a big virtue amongst any of us at this time of the year. The guy hadn't played any football since his injury, I believe was first week of January last year. Here we are. It's going to be in October, and his OTAs and training camp are going to have to be squished together fast, and which he is ready to do mentally and emotionally. but we have to be careful ourselves to not overdo it with him, but overdo it from a physical standpoint and an expectation standpoint.
Did Reed enter the
Jeff,
game?
can I follow up on that just one quick thing? What did you see from him on film that maybe you think can help this team?
Yeah, I think he's a good football player that brings energy. I think he's a good tackler. I'm excited to see him, for the first time, because I do think he's a good football player. Where he'll exactly fit in, we'll have to see.
Now, another player likely to return this week is James Bradberry, who I think we all kind of forgot that at one point was a starting cornerback, and then they moved him to safety this offseason, and then he got hurt a bunch of times, and basically has been injured ever since. I do wonder, though, with Avonte Maddox struggling in coverage, and personally I think deserves getting benched this week, could you move Bradberry into the slot to help out the suspect coverage areas when teams present three wideouts? Like last year, you got to remember, they were trying Bradberry out at nickel before a bevy of other injuries forced Bradberry to stay on the outside, and he seemed to basically enjoy it, saying, quote, "It's been fun. It's a different world in there. I'm not used to it. I'm trying to adjust to it and learn more. I think it's helping my overall knowledge of the game." While Bradberry is, again, not an instant fix on this Eagles defense, having the option to play Sydney Brown here and there, to play James Bradberry, to not be forced to just stick with where you're at the nickel spot right now with Avonte Maddox, again, could be an extra tool in the tool belt for Fangio to get this defense trending in the right direction. Personally, I'm excited to see Cooper DeJean get some more reps following the bye. I know Fangio has been very hesitant to give him an extended look due to his lack of camp practice, but he's ready now, and I guess can be, again, another option to mix in with Brown and Bradberry and give this defense multiple different options and different looks to hopefully not get shredded week after week. Also, shout out to Jalyx Hunt, who's gotten a lot of love on social media the past couple of days following a very limited snap count size versus the Bucs, but it's more than he's gotten all season long, and it was pretty impressive. The tape tells me Fangio needs to give him a bigger role. I mean, all he has to do is get like one tackle, one sack, and he's instantly more useful than Bryce Huff. But right now, he's sitting on just 5 total defensive snaps all season long, the lowest of any defensive end. And so the fact that those 5 snaps were at least somewhat impressive versus the Bucs tells me, Vic, give him a couple more looks, ramp him up. I think he's ready to make at least somewhat of a splash here in his rookie year. Now, the injury news we actually have all been waiting for is the update on both wide receiver A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith. And here you go. James Palmer a couple minutes ago. Quote, "My understanding is the Eagles are expecting to have their top wide receivers, A.J. Brown hamstring and DeVonta Smith concussion, back this week versus the #Browns," which is not a shock, but come on, this is the best news we possibly could have. Drop a like down below. Your top 2 weapons, and maybe the top 2 weapons in the entire National Football League, back on a field together. This is going to make a big difference. Now, offensively, I know we're all kind of waiting for Jalen Hurts to not turn the ball over, have a clean, complete game. Maybe it'll happen in week 6, but so far, the first 4 games of the season has historically been his worst stretch as a starter, with his only other 7 turnover stretch in 4 games coming last year between week 5 and week 8. A stretch that included wins against the Rams, Dolphins, and Commanders, with that lone loss being the disaster turnover-filled upset against the Jets. I think the big difference, though, between being 3-1 when Hurts turned the ball over 7 times last year and this season where you're 2-2 with the same amount of turnovers has to be the injuries. A.J. Brown has missed 3 games, and DeVonta Smith and Lane Johnson both missed last week. Say what you want about Hurts, but those are major losses. Brown coming back alone should be a major boost for this offense, as he's really the only receiver besides DeVonta Smith that Jalen Hurts seems to trust, which again is a Hurts issue, but still, getting back your number 1 target is a huge plus. Also, the Bucs tried early to load the box against Saquon Barkley and kind of force Kellen Moore and really Nick Sirianni to not run the football. Eventually they figured it out, and obviously eventually it started to work, but getting A.J. Brown back should hopefully move the safeties back, move them out of the box, and give a lot more running option looks for Saquon and company. And honestly, we haven't seen this offense at full strength really since week 1, and that was still kind of a weird situation. Week 1 is always, what do you have in this football team? Got to fly down to Brazil. The field conditions were bad, and they scored a ton of points against a very good defense in Green Bay. And again, you're playing the Browns this week, and the Browns defense, it's not been as good as we thought it would be heading into this season. I think the fact that they don't trust their quarterback kind of leeches around the entire team. Again, different issue, not a Browns channel, but you watch the Commanders absolutely shred that Browns defense yesterday. A healthy Eagle offense should be able to do much of the same and hopefully get things rolling going into week 6. Now, the Eagles will continue to ramp things back up, practices, press conferences this week. We'll cover it all after a very quiet week last week. I mean, literally nothing happened. They were closed for business essentially during their bye week. Hopefully reset, get back out there and beat the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. Curious where you guys are feeling here. It's a really favorable opponent. I know people are saying, oh, we could still lose to them, which is true, but after the entire NFC East won just a day ago, it's time for the Eagles to get back in the driver's seat, get to 3-2, and start to ramp back up this season. Again, plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been The Thomas Mott Show.
show.